Just a minute, but I have just a couple quick announcements I wanted to make real quick. First of all, it looks like most of you have already muted yourselves, which is awesome. If you haven't yet done that, go ahead and mute your microphones, please. You can turn your cameras on if you want, leave them off, whatever you'd like. We're going to let Austin give his entire presentation, and then we'll do questions at the end. You can use the chat feature down there at the bottom of your screen to throw in a question or a comment. And I'm going to be monitoring that throughout the presentation. So if there's something that looks like it needs to be addressed right away, I will politely interrupt Austin and ask your question for you. Otherwise, I'll ask him at the end, or you can hold your questions at the end and ask him yourself, however you'd like to do it. And then I also wanted to remind you guys to check out our website and sign up for our summer adventure program, adult programming challenges. Challenge number 1 is currently underway. And you can find all the information about it and future challenges as they're posted on our website. You can win some really cool prizes with those challenges, so check that out. And finally, once Austin is done giving his presentation, I ask that you hang out a little bit longer. We have 3 copies of this Forever Wild, Forever Home book. This was generously donated. We have 3 copies donated to us by the authors of the book. And I have entered all of your names into a prize wheel that will randomly select 3 winners so that you can take this book home and check it out. It's the history of the wild animal sanctuary. And I've been flipping through it. It's really amazing, very detailed. It's got some great pictures in here. So I will pick 3 winners once we're all done with Austin's presentation. And then if you have to leave early for whatever reason, bedtime, dinner time, that's totally fine. You don't need to be present to win your book. I'll reach out to everybody who wins a copy of the book and let you know that you won and find out how to get your copy to you. So if there's no questions or anything before we start, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Austin.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Jennifer. Well, hi, guys. My name is Austin. She said, I know my screen says Patrick Craig. That's the gentleman whose Zoom I am using, but that's our founder and our executive director. I'm going to talk about Pat a few different times, but I'm not Pat. I am Austin. I got another Austin here. Hey, buddy. Cool name you got there. But welcome, guys. I got an awesome PowerPoint here. I'm going to show with you guys all kinds of great video and photographs of the animals and why we do what we do, how long we've been doing it, how we go about it. But yeah, so right now I'm there right now, the Wild Animal Sanctuary out in Keenesburg, Colorado. That's about 40 miles, give or take, northeast of Denver. So not too far away from like the city and all that stuff. We are actually the oldest and largest carnivore sanctuary in the entire world. And we're going to talk about that and kind of dive in. So what I'm going to do here is share my screen with you guys. So I don't know if you're going to see me as much, but that's okay. I want you guys to see the PowerPoint. I'm going to set that up real quick. And then, all right, should be seeing that okay. Awesome. What's going? I think, Jennifer, I think you muted, but can you see that okay? Hear me okay still?
Yep, you're good.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Also, I got my little control here thing so I can see everything okay. Cool. All right, guys. Well, welcome. Let's get to it. So Wild Animal Sanctuary, some of our beautiful tigers in the big habitat out there. And right off the bat, guys, you're going to see a lot of our habitats tonight. We are on just shy of 789 acres out here in Keenesburg, Colorado. We have a couple different locations we'll talk about, but most of our property is large acreage habitats. For kind of a reference for you guys, 1 acre of land is about as big as a football field. So a lot of football fields out there. And most of our habitats are between 5 and 25 acres. So like the tigers you're seeing there, they have probably 10 or 15 acres around right now and doing wonderful. Let's kind of break things down a little bit. So we're going to break this down into our mission, our locations, the problem of why we have to rescue themselves, and how you guys can get more involved in that. So I know you guys can probably read this, but I'll read it to you just in case. To rescue animals from illegal and/or abusive situations and rehabilitate those animals so they can live freely in large acreage natural habitats, while educating people like you about the captive wildlife crisis in America and around the world. And that is our mission. That's what we're trying to do here all the time. The sanctuary started by that gentleman, Pat Craig, I mentioned earlier, started rescuing when he was 19 years old in the year 1980. So this is year 41 for us. We actually did not even open to the public where I'm at now. We are open to the public now, but we did not originally open to the public until the early 2000s. So it took some time. And but even then, our focus was to get people educated. They have no idea where our animals are coming from. You know, when we say they're rescued, people think, oh, they think a zoo, they think a circus. But most of our animals were animals that were privately acquired, privately, they bought them. So apartments, garages, backyards, basements, horse trailers, gas stations, shopping malls, you name it, roadside zoo, that's a huge one. The animals are literally all rescued from really bad places, as the mission said there. And they live freely here, and this is a forever home for them when they get rescued here. All right, let's go to the next one. Oops, there it goes. So we talked about where I am here at the Wild Animal Sanctuary, 789 acres here. We care for over 500 lions, tigers, bears, wolves, leopards, jaguars, mountain lions, you name it. And we do have another kind of chunk of land that we acquired about 3 years ago. We call it the Wild Animal Refuge. We actually got kind of landlocked out here, which means we weren't really able to get more land around us. We wanted to expand so we could rescue more animals. So we had some we were looking at, but that didn't end up working out. So we went down to, found an awesome location down in Southeast Colorado. I'll show you guys a map of that. And it's just shy of 10,000 acres. That line, this is the, of course, the state of Colorado. That line you see there is us. And then that bear way down the southeast corner there, that is the Wild Animal Refuge. It was ranch land. It's actually a rancher's land. We have a few years to pay it off. I think it's pretty much almost already all paid off. It's pretty amazing. And how that math kind of broke down per acre was $777. So 777. And people that bought an acre became a founder. And that's how we were able to pay for that. People basically buying acres so we could pay off that land and then own it forever. It'd be ours. It is closed to the public, partially because it's so far away. It's so hard to get to. And also just being open to the public is very expensive. But people that did buy an acre, they become founders and they are able to kind of go to like an open house once a year, and they can kind of see how beautiful the refuge is. We do have a few dozen animals there now, and they're doing phenomenal. Our Founders Weekend's actually next weekend. I'll be down there. So this is kind of an overview, above shot of the refuge. It's about 15 square miles. Even though we were already the oldest and largest carnivore sanctuary in the world before we got the refuge, we fit in this area about 12 times. It's massive. It's canyon land. It is juniper trees. We got a lot of great pictures to show of that. These habitats are immense. We have like a 300-acre one there down there for bears. I think the smallest habitat is 35 acres. So it is absolutely incredible. We have staff living there around the clock. Now, here we are. This is some animals. So this is Boulder. It's a female tiger. Those are juniper trees. From above, they kind of look like just big bushes, but they got pretty good height to them as far as trees. They're just kind of low to the ground. They offer quite a bit more shade than you would think. So she and two others were the first animals at the refuge. This is a beautiful grizzly bear we rescued. Her name is Miss Montana. It's actually her name, Miss Montana. We honor the names they're rescued with. Sometimes they have a name that may be a little funny or maybe a little disrespectful to the animals. We don't want that, so we might change their name there, or maybe they didn't have the name when they were rescued. But otherwise, we honor the names they're rescued with. So that is Miss Montana. A couple more kiddos. This is actually just on our Facebook the other day as well. So this is down at the refuge. This is not at where I'm at right now, but we'll get some of those pictures as well. We have some wolves down there as well. We have a couple of different wolf packs. You kind of see the, get my cursor, you kind of see the fence line here. It's a massive habitat. Beautiful, beautiful habitat. Here's a little bit of a video of Lion Pride, Mr. Jupiter, and the 5 ladies he lives with down at the refuge. Don't worry if you hear some of that warbling from the wind sound, that's okay. That's the wind down there. I'm just coming up to see what's going on with the food situation. That's Mr. Jupiter right there.
Oh.
Pretty cool. Oh, there's Bailey. She's playing peekaboo, Pika Tiger right here. So Bailey Boulder, they live down at the refuge. That first tiger we saw, they are roommates. They actually live with the lion as well. It's one of the only times we have that kind of thing where they're mixed. They were rescued together, these 2 tigers and a lion. So we actually keep them together. And they're doing phenomenal. This is really, really cool. So this is at the refuge again. It was beautiful canyon lands and these cliffs, these rocks formations down there. This is an amazing rescue story. This is a spectacled bear from the zoo, a really bad zoo in Buenos Aires, and they were on concrete all the time. People, guests were throwing food to them. So really, it was hard. It took a long time to get them out of here. And the guys at the rescue were doing something else, and they looked up, and this bear's name was Tupac. And Tupac was climbing up the rocks, and pretty incredible where they came from. They were able to do that to hide. He just wants to see what they're doing. He just wants a better view of what they're doing. Spectacled bears are really cool. They have very light colored faces in their eyes, very light colored fur. If you guys haven't, look them up. Cool bears. They're very cool. So we also this is more of a recent thing in I think the last year and a half or so, we kind of started running a sanctuary that was already existing in Texas. It used to be called International Exotic Animal Sanctuary, about 41 acres. It's in Boyd, Texas, B-O-Y-D. And they were just kind of falling on hard times. And I think just asked for some help. And our refuge wasn't too far from there anyway, as far as drive goes, just a few hours. So we ended up kind of overtaking that one as well. We just call it the Wild Animal Refuge, Texas. So we kind of oversee how they're doing, but otherwise it is, I got a shot of it right here. Beautiful land, great lush trees right down there. But we kind of give them their own staff and everybody down there, but then they all kind of run it themselves. We kind of poke our heads in and see how they're doing, but they have tons of different animals as well. There's some of those beautiful kiddos here. So of course their habitats are not quite as big, but they do have a lot of love down there and really great trees. Kind of funny, this is a Delilah cheetah. In 41 years of rescuing animals, we've never had to rescue a cheetah, which is crazy. I'm a big cheetah fan, but so technically she's part of the family now. But we did not rescue her. She was already living at the location in Texas, but that's little Delilah. Let's see here. And this is a great overview of what you're going to be visiting. Some of you guys may have already been out to the sanctuary to see us, and you'll know this is actually the walkway that you walk on to be over all the habitats. So we do that for the animals' comfort. If you have somebody that walks right up into your bubble, they get in your face, you're like, whoa, what are you doing, man? You're too close. But you see birds fly above, you see helicopters and airplanes go above you. It doesn't really bother you, right? So Pat, when he was, back in the day, early in his rescue days, he found out that when he's working above the animals, they really didn't worry too much about it. So that's why we have the walkway set up this way. Also because the property is so huge, but we do this for the animals' comfort. We want to be above them where we're not encroaching on their territory. I can actually see a lion sleeping right here. I'm gonna pause it real quick. I can see a lion sleeping. That's probably Tabitha. She's sleeping out on this concrete structure here. She's one of our queens. You always hear king of the jungle, but we have a lot of queens out here, more than kings, I'd say. But so you can't quite see it from here, but the welcome center, the original welcome center is way over here. But now, so the walkway goes this way. It's the only turn in the walkway, and then it keeps on going. And there's a Bolivian lion house right here. It's kind of an introductory area where our lions get kind of their first stop so that they get kind of acclimated and they can begin their healing process with other lions in a more of a controlled environment, not going to a big habitat right away. And then just almost to the day, 5 years ago, we finished this other half mile of a walkway way out here, and that goes to the Welcome Center. And that's where I'm at a lot of the time. If you guys come out to visit, then I would probably see you guys then. But so now it's 1.5 miles each way, so 3 miles round trip. And we set a world record for world's longest footbridge. And Guinness Book came out, measured it and everything. World's longest pedestrian footbridge, pretty incredible. And here's an awesome video of a Syrian brown bear chasing the drone. We can see how massive its habitat is. This is a normal habitat for us. There she goes. It's way above her. It's not going to hurt her. She's not scared of it. She's just playing with it. And he's going to kind of flip around here. I can see a pool we had just made for them right there, and go back the other way. And here she goes again. Oh, all right. Isn't that awesome? These are Syrian brown bears. They're actually, it makes you laugh. I think one of their names is Booger, if I'm not mistaken. Booger in Montana. There's another Montana, but they're actually cousins kind of in the grizzly family. They have that kind of base, the hump at the base of their neck, which makes them part of the grizzly family. Oh man, they're characters. She wants us to come on down and play with it, huh? Of course, I'm not going to do that, but I like to end that end part of the video because I kind of think she can't find it. Isn't that great? So the problem. So we call this the captive wildlife crisis. So basically, we talked about all the different ways these animals are being rescued: apartments, garages, backyards, and so on. By our estimation, there are tens of thousands still large carnivores outside the zoo system. So those are privately owned. So they're in roadside zoos, they're in tourist attractions, they're shopping malls, gas stations. I mean, there's so many different stories. Magic Act. We just rescued a beautiful white lion from a Magic Act in Guam. Isn't that crazy? His name is Rio. He's doing great right now, but we just got here about a month ago. So the animals are coming from all over the place. A little bit of our backstory. So we talked about Pat Craig earlier. So Pat went back in late 70s, early 80s. He went on a tour of a zoo out east with a friend of his that was working at that zoo. Now, Pat was really surprised because he went back behind the scenes and there was tons and tons of teenager animals, not very old, um, in these very small, almost like dog crates. And it was really sad. He asked his friend, what the heck's going on? Why are all these animals back here? He said, well, the zoos were basically kind of overbreeding. They wanted babies. We all love babies. They're so cute and fun and wonderful. We want to see the babies, but they weren't doing it for conservation. They were doing it so people would come and see the babies for that exact reason. They want to see the cuteness and the playfulness. And then they get to be bigger. And then what do you do with them? You got to make room for more babies. That's what their mentality was at the time. So they take these teenager animals and they're more full size, and then they put them back behind scenes, which is really sad. And that was their life. And Pat said, well, we got to do something about that. So it was 1980. He was 19 years old, and it was in Boulder, Colorado. You guys probably know Boulder. He got a family farm that he was already living on, and he started rescuing animals there. He got everything licensed and taken care of, so it was all legal and totally cool. First animal he ever rescued was a 10-day-old jaguar. Was very, very young. Her name was Freckles. So lived to be about 24. And he was just realizing there was a huge private sector issue. So this says no laws. There really weren't many laws. So now it's cracked down quite a bit, but there's still, even now, hard to believe, but there are a handful of states, we'll talk about this in a minute, that have no rules about owning the animals. You may think that's a really cool, fun thing, but man, is it dangerous for everyone involved, not to mention these animals are literally built to be in the wild. It's what they're born to be in, and you take that away from them. They literally can't, they're not able to go back to the wild once they're living in captivity. And I call these common sense laws. They are laws that did not exist about owning a lion because no one thought we should make a law about owning a lion. So federal would mean this was a nationwide rule. And unfortunately, it's really not. It's state by state. Colorado is a complete ban. Thankfully, we're very good about it. In some states, it's just very, very, very minor laws or minor rules. There's really not much. It might be a permit or this or that. I think about half the country is a ban, but it's still a shocking amount. So Pat was rescuing and realizing that sometimes zoos were selling to the private sector, and there also were just no laws about selling for private citizens. So people think this is like some crazy underground hidden thing, and honestly, it wasn't. It was kind of just people that were breeding them and selling them. And that's the big thing, guys. So education is vital. So, we live in this day and age where everyone has, you have your cell phone, right? Everyone has a camera in their pocket. We're able to photograph an animal in a really bad place, or take a video of it. We have rescues that maybe happened because of wonderful people like PETA or animal welfare people that got involved and said, hey, we're going to speak up on behalf of the animals, or we get laws applied to this, the Endangered Species Act, protecting tigers and stuff. But sometimes it's just a petition, and it's just people, we give, people get a petition and they get a lot of pressure on the bad people that are trying to exploit the animals and make money off them. And they get all this public pressure on them, and then they end up closing because they can't handle all the bad stuff. So education is so important, and people always think, oh, I can't do anything. What am I going to do? You can, even a petition. There was an amazing rescue that I'll talk about toward the end here, but that was really just a petition that got 18 animals, 32 animals, actually 18 that we rescued, but it rescued all of them. And that was the mom and daughter that got a petition signed. So education is very, very vital. And this is a global issue. So it really is, it's spread across the world. We do global rescues, in case you guys were wondering. And we'll kind of break that down just a minute as well. But it really was an issue. I don't know if America was the first one to do it, but it was all over the place where animals were, there's no shortage of it. So There's always a need for us to be out there rescuing animals. And of course, the overseas ones are a lot harder because of, you think of how expensive all the people involved on the other side and loading the animals up and flying them over and everything. And then everyone's a lot of endangered animals. It gets kind of complicated, but doesn't mean we're not going to do it. And it just takes a few more steps and more time to get that to happen. So education is huge, and it's an international thing. So this is a great kind of overview. I'm going to step back for a minute here, let you guys watch this. This is the location I'm at right now. It's a great little few minutes snippet about what we do out here, and kind of shows everything.
What are you doing? The Wild Animal Sanctuary is a place where animals hopefully can be heard. They can be given individualized care.
Noelle, ooh, are you gonna play in your pool?
And hopefully given back what we as human beings have taken from them.
It's a little over 500 animals. We specialize in large carnivores, but we still have a myriad of other things. And there's lions, tigers, bears, leopards, wolves, hyenas, foxes, horses, camels, donkeys, kangaroos, pigs. We're the only sanctuary in the United States that does large acreage habitats. The refuge is basically as close to wild as possible.
About 85% of the animals here today are legal confiscations, either through local law enforcement or state or federal agencies. We average about 70 to 100 animals a year.
It definitely takes a unique individual. You have to be so driven and so dedicated to the animals that you're willing to do anything and everything. And so I know how hard it can be and how much wear and tear on your body it is. We pick up from 70 Walmarts every single day. There's anywhere from 200 to 300 barrels that get sorted, washed, and back on the truck. Taylor is the only animal caretaker that lives on site, so she works 7 days a week. We're going to our 60-acre wolf habitat.
There now, I'm in there.
I'm not home because I kind of constantly need to be moving. All of our animals have different personalities.
Releasing the 3 baby bears today, start the process
17.
of getting them out into the habitat.
So now we have 2.
When we see an animal walk out of the habitat, it's a big step. The animals here, a lot of them are natural doors, very small spaces.
The sisters,
If they don't have a mom, they kind of see us as a surrogate.
Hey, little buddy.
good boy.
Now we're talking. Hi.
Just seeing them explore these things for the first time, it's just an amazing step.
What's up, pretty girl? Huh? How are you? There you go. When we're building the habitats, we definitely look at who's going to be going in it and what species it is, and try and tailor that habitat to the needs of that specific animal.
I found a different meaning since you came in my life. Now all of time is standing still, shining so bright.
The refuge is a little less than 10,000 acres. Canyon lands, caves, cliffs. You could take an animal out of the greatest zoo in the United States and the refuge would be an upgrade.
And it feels like home, it feels like home.
Seeing their emotions, seeing their eyes, seeing them live the life that they were meant to have. That's the thanks that really keeps you going.
Like all of a sudden you'll see that shell break and a big sigh of relief. Just letting go. It's very rewarding to see that, and especially when you know you've had the opportunity to be a part of it.
Isn't that a great video? Yeah, that's a great one. So that's actually really fresh too. That's only filmed in the last year or so. The person at the end of that video is Becca. She's our animal care director. She's gonna narrate a video that's coming here in just a second. So kind of remember her face. So this is a great overview of the animals that we've rescued from the States. And I actually think this is already out of date. We're rescuing so much throughout the year. This was as of a few months ago. So it's actually more than this right now, but easily half the country we've rescued from the States. Now keep in mind that little paw print there also means leopards, mountain lions, African servals, bobcats, lynx, coatimundi, fox. So we definitely got bunch of kiddos from Colorado right there, and we definitely have rescued a bunch from Oklahoma. That number's a little bit different right now. And I guess probably heard the Tiger King show. So we've rescued several animals from that location as well. So lots and lots of animals across the country. And this is global. I think this is pretty current. So Spain, Lebanon, Argentina, Uruguay, Bolivia. I mean, it really goes on. Did our first Asia rescues though, just a couple of years ago. Done a lot with Mexico, done a lot with South America. Yeah, as I said before, especially when an animal is already endangered or a threatened species, it takes a lot more it's more complicated process to get them over here. But we're ready to go. And there are times when an animal is in another country and it may not be the top priority of that country to get the animals over here really quickly, but it's our top priority. So sometimes we're sending food to other countries just to make sure the animals are eating okay. Because they could be in closed zoos or, places that don't have full staff taking care of them. So that's very concerning to us. We want to get them here, as soon as possible and begin their whole new life. So those rescues are very, very important, and they take a long time to get going. So these are the last kind of remaining states that have and how their laws work. So Nevada, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Alabama are the last states, at least that I know of. I'm pretty sure this is pretty accurate, where there's no laws whatsoever. And then the kind of very light blue does not ban dangerous animals as pet, but you have to have a permit. The stripes, or they ban some animals, but some are allowed. And then the hard blue, like Colorado, is a complete ban across the board. So we would like to say that be one solid color, right? We don't want to. It seems very silly that why we still have so many animals that are why it's legal to own bears and lions and bears. And tigers, in homes and privately own them, or to put them in some kind of business to make money off them. It seems very crazy, but that's again, that's why we do this, guys. This is education. This is it's important you guys know all this stuff. So the rescues, we have tons and tons and tons of rescues. We're doing all the time. I think we rescue between 70 to 100 animals a year. That could really be a lot more than that. I think it might end up being more than 100 this year if I had to guess, but I don't want to guess it too early. But and keep in mind, we don't get to decide who is rescued. That would be wonderful. But what we do is, so an animal gets confiscated sometimes, which means that they get taken away because someone thought, hey, you've lost the right to take care of this animal. You have not done a good job. The animal is in danger. Their health is bad. So the animal might get confiscated. Now, we don't get to decide that. We don't do the confiscating, but we're home for confiscations. So someone says, a local law enforcement, and Pat said that in the other video, hey, can you guys take care of this animal? And if we can, we'll say, of course we can. We already have our equipment, our trucks, everything. We're ready to go. Just tell us what you need from us and we'll go. And that's a pretty big deal, because when you rescue an animal, you're signing up for their entire life. It's not a couple years or a couple weeks. A bear can live up to be 40 in captivity. Very, very old. And that's kind of tough to reach, but very, very old. We've had tigers that reach 27. Early 20s is a very old tiger. So you sign up, to rescue an animal, you're signing up for life. And we rescue all ages, old, young, middle age, doesn't matter to us. When they get here, they're getting the best quality of life and care for the rest of their life. This is a really powerful video that breaks down a rescue. It's very powerful. Get your tissues ready. And Becca, we talked about earlier, the animal care director, she narrates this. This is called Anatomy of a Rescue from South Dakota. I'm gonna have you guys watch this. Very, very powerful.
I think sometimes it's easy to forget just how scary that moment is when we come into these animals' lives. No matter how rough their living conditions, it's all they've ever known. It's their home. They don't know what's on the other side of that fence. Sometimes they're excited to go with us, to get out of there. Other times it's like leaving everything they know behind. But to see where they're going, to experience that joy the first moment they step into the habitat. To see the emotional and physical damage just melt away. I really think that's why a lot of people come to the sanctuary, why they adopt one of these creatures, why they care so incredibly much. It's not just because they want to help. I think it's because it changes us inside too. We see ourselves in these animals. We know what it's like to go through hard times, to experience incredible, terrifying transitions. I mean, we've all been there. When people experience these animals, it's powerful. Not just because of how beautiful and how majestic they are, but because of where they came from. Just like us, their present was written through the stories of their past. It's incredibly impactful. It's beautiful, and it changes you immensely. I've been working with these animals for years, and I feel incredibly honored to be part of their journey, to help them make that transition into a beautiful life, to give them a voice because they've never had one of their own.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing, guys? I've seen that video so many times, and it's, oh man, it gets me. It's so good. We have a lot of amazing videos, but man, if I had to vote, I'd say that might be my favorite one. That's the real deal. Pretty incredible. So kind of nearing the end here a little bit. So becoming engaged. So many different ways that you guys can take part in the animals' lives and help benefit them and keep them going. And one great way is to just visit us. Come see us at the Wild Animal Sanctuary where I'm at now. We're open 7 days a week. We have daily passes. People that are active supporters can visit, and they can bring 3 guests. We have membership options. There's so many different ways to visit. A day pass is 50 for adults, 30 for kids, 20 for senior. And then the memberships kind of play into that as well, where you pay a little bit more, but then you can come literally anytime you want to, all year long. And there's really not a bad time to come out. Honestly, like I love wintertime. Our bears are hibernating. We miss our bears, but we do have some wonderful bald eagles that hang out with us. Like, no kidding, like 30 of them that hang out on property and are constantly flying around. And in wintertime, the animals flip-flop the schedule. So they want to be out when it's warmest, right? And they love the cooler weather. So it's amazing. Lions roar, you can see their breath, and tigers love bounding in the snow. Wintertime really isn't a bad time. Maybe when it's hot. So midday, 95 degrees, the animals have those fur coats, they want to be sleeping. But otherwise, sanctuary, you'll see something different every time you guys come out. But that's a great way. And the main thing is you go and you learn and you get to experience the animals living a free and different life. And then it's a gift that keeps on going. Then you leave. That's what happened to me. I visited once and here I am now. And that was 6-7 years ago. So you come out and then you learn about them and then you tell your friends and they tell their friends and you have the tour guide. You can show them the pictures. You sign up for our seasonal newsletter. That's wonderful. There's so many different ways to do it. And you can even volunteer. So, well, at a certain age, so 16 years old is the minimum for doing our education. Our volunteer shifts are between education and animal care. So animal care is really tough work, and we do have to be a little bit older for that one. We go through 80,000 pounds of food a week when the bears are awake, and that's actually a higher number now. We have about 160 volunteers that help sort all that food and go into diet prep and helping with that. So that's really, really amazing thing we need because we have so much different kind of food that we give. Because of course the bears are omnivores and certain animals have different diets they need. So it just keeps going, of course, and there's donating. We are I didn't say this yet, we're a 501c3 nonprofit, which means everything that we do here is donation based. It is completely just based on whatever you guys give, $5, $10, whenever you guys come out to visit. We see tons of kids that do lemonade stands. We see a lot of schools or libraries that do, they kind of do a fundraiser and they'll sponsor an animal out here, symbolically adopt the animal. I mean, that's literally how we keep running. We don't get any big grants from the government or anything like that. It's literally just people donating. Everything you just saw, all those animals, all those habitats, that's just from people's gifts. That's just from donations. Great segue here for that book. I know that Jennifer's going to be raffling off. Our book is amazing. It just came out. I'm a little biased on that, of course, written by 2 of our volunteers that were interviewing Pat and everybody over the course of a year or 2, just getting the full story about the sanctuaries. This is the only book that's got the comprehensive history. It's only a few months old. Very, very good. Forever Wild, Forever Home. And I told you guys I would save this rescue story for the end. In terms about being engaged, that people always think, well, they see an animal and it really sets, but they think, well, I can't do anything about it. Well, there was a mall, a shopping mall in near kind of Des Moines, Iowa, and this guy had tons and tons of animals. We're talking wolves, bobcats, bears. There was a mountain lion, foxes. He had them just as part of an exhibit inside the mall. They were behind glass, flat ground, nothing to climb. They were constantly pacing, people going up on the window and hitting the tapping on the glass, and that was their life. And that was just a mom and her teenage daughter. They got a petition started and they got 80,000 signatures. Isn't that amazing? And hit the guy in the wallet. That guy, he couldn't stand it. People were boycotting him, rightfully so. They didn't want to visit him. They didn't want to support him. They were saying bad things about him, again, rightfully so. And he decided he had to close because of it. And so that mom and daughter, they ended up saving 32 animals. 18 were carnivores that we were able to rescue. The other ones went to different sanctuaries. But that was a mom and daughter that, even though it was just a big old step, it got all those animals saved. So sincerely, guys, people think they can't do anything. You absolutely can. And just photographing, you can write your state people, the congressmen and women, people that are out there. There's so many ways to get involved to save the animal's life. But honestly, just sharing a picture on Facebook or visiting, telling your friends, even that is doing it. Because you know what you are when you do that? You're an animal ambassador. You are speaking on behalf of the animals, and you are carrying on their message for others to learn, so that more and more of us can help get them into a better place here at the sanctuary. So now I kind of open up if there's any questions and answers. I'm going to kind of get on my screen here. So, question and answers, and then so there's a couple here. But Jen, do you have anything before I did that?
Looks like there's just one question in the chat. Holly wanted to know how big the enclosures are typically.
Yeah, and I also have a direct one from Miss Cindy about how tall the fences are. So yeah, Holly, how big are enclosures typically? So they are depending on where we are at. So like here at where I'm at in the sanctuary, the original one, Pat moved here in '94. We're on 789 acres. Honestly, it's kind of a wide scope, but the habitats on typical, they range between 5 and 25 acres. So I'd say on average between 10 and 15. Our biggest one's about 25 acres. There's a lion pride that lives out on that habitat. But occasionally we do have a smaller habitat out there. And that's because our animals that are coming from apartments, garages, backyards, basements, horse trailers, whatever, we don't want to go from horse trailer to 20 acres overnight, right? Keep in mind that when an animal first gets here, they're often seeing grass for the first time. They're not on concrete for the first time. They're often seeing their own species for the first time, which is kind of a crazy thought. So it really is, it really depends on it. It's a process. Our rehabilitation is psychological, emotional, and physical. So physical stuff we can treat really easily, but it's the emotional stuff that takes a long time. So we go step by step to making sure the animals are comfortable in a big habitat. And Cindy, how tall are the fences? That's a good question. So it's a couple of different options there too. So I want to say, I think the main one we have, I'm a little dyslexic, so I get it mixed up. I think it's 10 feet. And that is also it's got through law regulation, it has a hot wire around, just like cattle. It's a little bit of a jolt through there. So that's every single habitat has that. The law regulation as well for like the more athletic cats, like a mountain lion, leopards, jaguar, is 16 feet high. And that has to be a stronger kind of, different kind of fence. So between there, so about usually, but the average one I think is about 10. And then I saw Barbara again. Oh, Barbara, yeah. So Barbara said, these animals are fed, but do they also hunt other creatures that happen to be in their habitat? It's kind of a funny answer. So we have a lot of bunnies and prairie dogs live out here. I just call it bad real. They have bad real estate. They should fire their realtors. They don't want to be in those big habitats out there. So we have, the funny thing is the little guys like bobcats and your foxes and even maybe like a mountain lion, they might hunt the bunnies or chase them a little bit. But the big guys, they're so well fed, and there's kind of a fast food joke there, right? Because those bunnies are so fast. You got this big 1,000-pound grizzly bear. He's not going to chase that little guy. He's already so well fed. That thing's so much work. He doesn't have to work to get his other meals. So for the most part, the reason why we have so many bunnies and prairie dogs is because they're usually pretty safe to be inside habitats. So the short answer is that there's not a lot of other snacking, so to speak, for the other animals. You guys have some great questions coming in. Let's see here, Miss Jennifer, do the animals reproduce in the habitat? Another good question. All of our males are neutered, with the exception of our African male lions. Their manes are testosterone driven, so we don't want them to lose those. So, and the female lions get a kind of an implant in their neck that suppresses their estrous cycle. So, yeah, we don't want to add to the number of animals that cannot go back to the wild. So no mating, only dating, as we would say it out here. But yeah, so once they're here, forever home is kind of think of it like a retirement home for all ages. Everyone's here, we take care of them. They get the free health care, free maid service, free food, and they just got to worry about being themselves. They have definitely more than earned it after everything they've been through. So, but we don't want to reproduce. We occasionally will rescue a mom that is pregnant. That does happen sometimes. And that could be a surprise, or we'll rescue her knowing she's pregnant. That's okay. And they often stay with her, or the babies, I mean, or occasionally we will rescue. You saw that video of the bear cubs. Those 3 were rescued. They had no mama. That's kind of a long story, but so we do rescue little ones as well. How do you learn? They go too fast. How do you learn about animals that need to be rescued? That's a good question. It's often we're contacted. Pat's been doing this for 41 years now. And keep in mind, when Pat started the sanctuary, there really weren't many other sanctuaries. It was kind of the first one to really just kind of do this kind of thing. There is a couple others around the world, but not really on this scope. And so they really contact him. You guys have heard of PETA, P-E-T-A, humane societies in different areas. They will contact Pat. He's the man that decides what's the best thing. Because sometimes it's an animal we can't take. Maybe it's a monkey or a giraffe or something. And then he can defer to them or direct them to a different sanctuary that can take them. But yeah, for the most part, it's people contact us, and then it's up to them, up to the people in that area, that to get them out of there. They could be court. It could be court ordered. There are certain lawyers out there whose whole goal is to get animals out of bad places, exotic animals out of bad places. So again, we're the home. That's what we do. So we're contacted and said, hey, can you give them a home? And we show up. So that's our main thing. Cindy and Lee, you're welcome. I think I got another one. Kim, Wild Animal Sanctuary is a remarkable place. You all must go. Thank you too for sharing. Thank you too for sharing and all you do. You're very welcome. Thank you guys for having me on and for doing this. This program's awesome. I grew up going to my local library all the time. I still got my library card from when I was a kid, actually. Let's see. Holly got a question here. Do you have to worry about keeping a specific gender ratio because of gender hierarchies in species like lions? Really good question. You'd be surprised. We keep the rescues together. So like if we rescued a whole crew that lived together in another place, we keep them together here as well. Same with family units. We don't want to split them up. Occasionally, someone's not compatible after a while, we'll split them up and we'll make sure they're okay. But keep in mind, there's no breeding. They're fed so well and their territory is so clearly defined that we have multiple males together with females, and there's absolutely no problem. And I think it's partially because, well, there's just no breeding, there's no babies, the territory, everyone kind of shares it. There might be sometimes when one might eat first and another will eat kind of thing. We can actually build lion prides pretty easy. I'd say as far as our rehabilitation process of like when a tiger gets here from the time they go to a big habitat, the tiger takes the longest in terms of how long it takes them to feel comfortable. Lions usually really fast because a lion really wants to be with other lions, very social. So we can build lion pride. It's more about age. That's the only time you kind of run into complications when you have a kiddo that's maybe 3 or 4 versus like 20. So so it's more about the age range than the male female thing. But yeah, I think there's another one from Cindy. Was there anything else? I saw the one. No, I didn't. Any other last questions, guys? Meg, why do tigers take longer? Yeah, it's kind of funny. I think it's because they're a solitary brained animal, right? So in the wild, they're alone. They may have the babies, but they're hunting alone. You think of a lion who's in a pride. A tiger wouldn't do that. A tiger would be on its own doing its thing. You think of like Shere Khan in the Jungle Book, right? That tiger's on his own all the time. But our tigers have never been alone. By the time they were rescued here, they've always been around someone or something. And not to mention, so many of our animals have never met their own species. So all of our animals start off in the apartment-sized habitat, then they work their way out to a bigger one. So tigers just take a little bit longer. I think it's because they're naturally more solitary, but they don't know how to do that. So we're kind of trying to see what's going to be a good roommate situation for them. Male, female tigers, that's the easiest bond to create. And then male's hardest is mid hardest, and the hardest is female tigers. That almost never works. I'm not really sure why, but lions. If you guys are coming out to visit, the lions are very vocal. Usually throughout the day, maybe not midday when it's really hot. Like all of us, we don't want to be too talkative when it's midday either. But when it's nice and cool out, our lions will talk. We don't hear our tigers talk too much unless someone is annoyed, usually, and it's almost always a female tiger telling somebody else, "Hey, knock it off, get out of here." And that's usually the time we hear a tiger roar. Otherwise, lions, they just bellow throughout the day, and they're talking to other lions. Tigers just take a little bit longer, but it also depends on the personality. Every animal's got personality. We all operate differently. How did you end up with the kangaroos? They're not the refuge. The kangaroos kind of funny. So that actually was Colorado. What? Why are they in Colorado? That was a guy in, I think, Ordway, Colorado, a town I'd never heard of. And I'm born and raised Colorado. I think he was hoarding the animals. So he had a whole bunch of random animals. I think there was a zebra that went to a different sanctuary, lots of different camels. He had lots of donkeys and stuff. And I think he had a kangaroo and I think a wallaroo. And we rescued every animal there except for the zebra, I think. So we rescued everybody. I think there's some tortoises. We had them here for a minute, but then we got them to a different sanctuary. We weren't in good climate for them when it got cold. But the kangaroos are they're not the refuge, but they are hard to see. They're kind of far out. We're a big place, so most of the species of the animals are visible from the walkway, but the kangaroos, I admit, are kind of hard to see. What hours can we come to visit? Great question. We are open 9 a.m. to sunset. And again, right now, I'd say come out right at that 9 o'clock hour or in the last couple hours of the day. Sunset is absolutely gorgeous. I'm a little biased, but I think we have one of the best views of sunset in all of Colorado. You're 30 feet up on the prairie land out here. The afternoon clouds come in. Our sunsets are absolutely killer. And not to mention the animals are all waking up after sleeping all day. They start talking, start moving around a bit more. But just whatever you do, you just gotta really avoid that midday heat. Let's say we got to 95, and man, everyone's sleeping. If you had a winter coat, if you're wearing your winter coat all year long, you would not want to be out in that either. So I saw the cow last visit. That is the story. Yeah, we have a little hodgepodge out there. We have a little, I call them the sitcom crew. They could be a sitcom together, but there is a group of animals that we have that is a buffalo. There is three alpaca. One of them was rescued pregnant. We didn't know that. And so she had a little one here. So there's 3 alpaca. There is an emu that live with them. It's kind of like an ostrich, but smaller. There is a yak cow hybrid. And then there is another cow that lives with them. So they're all that cow's name is May. They all live together and they're a hoot. They have no problems either. I think most of them are older, except for the little alpaca, but yeah. So that's awesome you come out, Meg. It's awesome you're not to visit before. Yeah, come see us. I'm usually in the welcome center, so I kind of go back and forth, but yeah. Any other questions, guys? These are great questions, but I know Jennifer's got a raffle here for that wonderful book. How tall is the bridge? The bridge is about 30 feet up, 30 feet up. Nice and safe, totally good, very, very sturdy. Of course, everything that we do has to be inspected by other people before it gets built. So, and it's very, we've had, out here on the prairie, we have really, really crazy wind out here that really can kind of shake and move things really hard. And that wind does not move. I mean, the walkway does not move. Pretty amazing. Even like 60 miles an hour wind does not move. But yeah, very safe. And please come on out, bring water with you. We have a restaurant out here. We have a gift shop. We have an ice cream shop. Kiddos, we got an ice cream shop out here. You gotta come get some ice cream. Yeah, guys, this was awesome. Thank you so much for having me. There's some wonderful questions. And if you come on out, ask more questions. We have volunteers who are walking the walkway. They're all wearing orange like I am. And that's what we love to hear. We love questions. It means you want to learn about the animals, and we love to tell you about them. So we're always rescuing. We have our newest newsletter. We do it seasonally, so spring and so on. It should be coming out any day now. It's a little bit late. You guys will read it. It's going to be jam-packed with stuff in it. And people really love that newsletter. It's beautiful. The photographs and the rescue stories, and that's all very current information. And but thank you guys again so much for having me and for listening to all this and watching all the videos. Go to our website. There's tons of videos. I only showed you a tip of the iceberg. There's tons more there. Or your parents are already following us or something on Facebook or something. We got great videos there all the time too. But I really, really appreciate you guys having me on. You guys have been great.
Thank you, Austin, so much. That was awesome.
Sure.
All right, everybody. If there's no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and spin our prize wheel. Like I mentioned at the beginning of our presentation, we have 3 of these Forever Wild, Forever Home books to give away. Everyone that registered for this presentation, their name has been entered on our prize wheel. And here it is. And it's just going to randomly pick 3 names. I will contact the winners tomorrow and figure out how to get your book to you.
Cool.
So here we go. Ooh. John Persovich.
Ooh. That was a close one.
That was a close one. Okay, and then just one thing I didn't mention right before I spun this wheel. If you have the same last name, we're going to give 1 book per family. So if you have the same last name of someone who's already won, I'm going to spin again and let someone else have a shot at it. Okay, let's spin again. Holly Wolf, am I saying that right? Congratulations, Holly.
Very cool.
Last one.
Oh, here it comes. Drum roll.
All right, Jen Petrick, you got the last copy of Forever Wild, Forever Home.
Man, that was down to the wire again.
It was down to the wire. Congratulations, everybody. All right, last chance before we end this meeting. Does anyone have any last minute questions for Austin or for me for the library?
That book is available too, guys, on the website or down in our gift shop. And of course, whenever you buy a book, you are supporting the sanctuary too. So, yeah. Cindy Lee, you're very welcome. Very, very welcome. John, you better share that book with Meg or she's going to be mad at you. Thank you so much, guys. The calendar, yeah, Meg, the calendar. Yeah, the calendar is a big one. We do a, of course, annual. We do a calendar every year, and that thing, it sells out. And it's got different rescue, different animal, of course, and then the rescue story. And yeah, those calendars are killer. I almost missed it last year because we ordered a bunch and they were sold out. Yeah.
All right, Austin. Well, one more time, thank you again so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you all for having me on, guys. Hope to see you soon at the sanctuary.
That is it for our presentation.